Ride-hailing companies and cab aggregators have finally opened their doors to electric vehicles, with companies like Ola and Uber signing deals that will lead to an influx of EVs in their fleets. Last month, Uber announced that it'll be adding 25,000 of Tata Motors Express T EVs to its fleet in a record deal signed with India's largest electric car manufacturer. Through what is the single largest contingent of EVs to enter a cab aggregator's fleet, Uber will offer the EVs as part of its premium ride-sharing section over a phase of 3 years. But Uber is far from the only one. Ola too announced that it will be adding 10,000 EVs to its cab fleet with a pilot program ready for deployment in the coming weeks. For both Uber and Ola, the move comes in the wake of the success of ride-hailing startups like BlueSmart, which, although limited to the Delhi NCR region for now, has distinguished itself through the promise of zero cancellation from drivers, a fleet of brand new, hygienic and well-equipped electric vehicles, and flat rates which do not surge during rush hour. It's a model both Uber and Ola aim to emulate, with both announcing their EV fleets will fall under the premier and premium categories, ensuring punctuality, zero cancellations, and a quiet, smooth ride. But the recent influx of EVs in the ride-hailing space has led to a lot of questions, chief of which is why now? Why are EV cabs preferable to CNG, petrol or diesel ones? And just what long-term benefit do they bring to both the consumer and the EV ecosystem at large? The answers perhaps best told by key stakeholders like Puneet Goyal, the co-founder of BlueSmart Mobility.
Huge advantage to shift to EV, and whether it's for individuals like Parth or Puneet or for any driver also, there's a huge advantage to shift to EV on the lower operating cost, because the total cost of ownership TCO, which is the capital cost plus the operating cost over a finite period of 4 to 5 years, is massively advantageous.
Although Uber declined to comment on the matter, sources say that EVs will go to its fleet partners who run their cabs on Uber's ride-sharing app. With an average cab running 300 kilometers per day, the relatively high acquisition costs for EVs for fleets can now be recovered far quicker than before, making EVs the obvious choice.
PitchBook said in their report in November 21 that the future of ride-hailing global is full stack, asset heavy and fully electric. It's the global report by PitchBook, also for you to access. And we wrote this white paper in October 18. We in October 18 had figured out that the future of ride-hailing is fully electric, full stack and asset heavy. And that's been our secret sauce of building everything ourselves and building it on full stack.
But in order to do so, ride-hailing services like Uber and Ola must run their EV cabs under a more premium category, offering more to the customer than just a zero tailpipe emission ride.
Which is available in favor of electric. People who are investing into electric, they have economics on their side, so they can have a arbitrage available to make such offers or make it sure that the customer experience is much better than a normal cab. So you have the money to do it, you have to have the willpower to do it, you have to have a business plan to do it, and you have to have deep pockets to have invested into the fleet, whether through aggregators or directly.
Fundamental piece that's coming through is that the cost economics are working better, right? So from a company that's starting up on scratch, they don't have any legacy, right? You can start a business and your revenues are higher, so you're able to put that in place. You can bring in new connectivity and services in place that enable to give a better customer connect that would probably exist, right? And you can pass on some of the benefit to the end customer, and some of it you can keep. So it is therefore a very large opportunity. If you generally look at it, you're saving $4 or so a kilometer, on this front. And so if you're doing 3,000, 4,000 kilometers a month, right? Then that's saving 16,000 rupees. So if you look at it from the other way, that I had an EMI and I had a cost of energy, my EMI is higher, my cost of energy is lower, right? In the other case, my EMI is lower, my cost of energy is higher. So anyway, I'm going to spend a certain amount every month, right? And if I'm doing enough kilometers, then it's very possible that my cost from day one is actually cheaper.
Trade statistics aside, how does this benefit the consumer? And ultimately, why should the cost-conscious consumer prefer electric over petrol, diesel or CNG cabs? In the last year, Uber India has hiked its trip fare by 12% in the Delhi NCR region and by 15% in Mumbai, two cities which account for nearly half of the country's total ride-hailing business.
Which is Delhi NCR, Mumbai and Bangalore put together. They are 70% of India's ride-hailing and mobility market. And if we see the three airports of India, the largest ones are in Bangalore, Delhi and Bombay. Three airports of India, one side, and all airports of India put together one side, no match.
Blue Smart's model also comes with competitive pricing.
And we've seen average cost in Bangalore being about 20 rupees a kilometer, average cost in Bombay being 26 rupees a kilometer, average cost in being about 20 rupees a kilometer, and lower than all these three. So already the consumers are enjoying a better and reliable service at a lower price, much lower price point than compared to the prices on petrol and diesel. That is already happening. And if you miss out on that, that will stall your growth. Sometimes it could be energy availability, sometimes it could be charging infrastructure, sometimes it could be timely supply of cars from the manufacturer.
For Uber and Ola, however, the high acquisition costs along with the infrastructural costs for setting up charging stations means that the promise of premiumness, which comes in the form of freshly minted EVs and to top it with zero cancellations and services of its top-rated drivers, will push up costs.
You need money.
Yeah.
And then you need time. And if you have two things, you have time and money both, then you can deliver the final product. So for energy infrastructure, you need money, but you also need time. You can't build a bridge in one day. You will need money. You will need $500 million to build a bridge, but you also need 10 years to build it. So similarly, for charging infra and for energy, you will need, besides capital, a lot of time.
You give extra advantages to the customer in terms of attracting him and retaining him, or a better experience, or pass it on, is a question of a business model. And it's also a competition at that point of time. But I believe that investments in this cannot be from day one subsidized to the extent that from day one it should be cheaper, because there are huge investments which are over and above a normal car. So initial upfront investments being very high, I am not the guy to advocate that why should from day one electric cab be cheaper than the other cabs. Certainly they should not be, I believe, but they should be giving much better services like some of them are giving.
However, once cab aggregators break even, the benefits of an EV's lower running costs will trickle down to the customer.
Then that's saving 16,000 rupees. So if you look at it the other way, that I had an EMI and I had a cost of energy, my EMI is higher, my cost of energy is lower, right? In the other case, my EMI is lower, my cost of energy is higher. So anyway, I'm going to spend a certain amount every month, right? And if I'm doing enough kilometers, then it's very possible that my cost from day one is actually cheaper.
There is a clear case of break-evens in the near side, as I told you, because of 200, 300 kilometers per day. It's a thumb rule. Like if it was some sort of a 10 kilometer per liter of a diesel being burned, here what you are getting straight away is only a charging cost. So easily, if you run it and they are normally run 7 days a week. If you run for 700 days at 300 kilometers, you are very near to break even, except perhaps a little bit here and there. So you may start making money out of the cab third year onwards also. So from that point of view, certainly there are possibilities that there will be competition. At competition level, margins would thin, and there could be a possibility of drop in per kilometer prices as the business graduates into maturity.
But if I'm somebody who's looking to hail a ride, am I required to pay a slight premium for the comfort and convenience and reliability of an EV? And is that going to be a factor in a very cost-conscious market, to get people to prefer EVs over, let's say, a CNG cab or something?
See, there is a strong market if there is a differentiation. And the differentiation is not electric, non-electric, it's experience of the ride. We have seen this happening also in Blue Smart, that people who log into Blue Smart, they don't get out of that network forever. They will wait and they will still go in for that, right? Why? Because of the experience of the ride. So again and again, I'm saying the package has not to be just a transactional package. It has to be a business model which is so close to customers' requirement, customers' delight, customer aspirations, and the experience, then only it will function well. So it is a possibility in electric because they are connected bikes, vehicles, because there is economical favor in the favor of electric, and because normally when you buy a new fleet, it is brand new. It's not second-hand cars. So for some years at least, you have an advantage of a brand new fleet, unlike in case of a normal petrol or a diesel car where second-hand cars are also being deployed.
Other than a more affordable model of shared mobility, there are indirect benefits to be considered, especially when it comes to widening the EV charging infrastructure, which experts believe will eventually be open to public use.
They're all going to realize that the infrastructure cost is quite high. So in the beginning, a lot of them may do it captive, but over a period of time, they're probably going to open it up to make sense, because the usage patterns may be different for when they need it to when others need it. And the cost structures are too high if you were to have it only captive. So at the longer term level, infrastructure would be something that multiple players would co-use, right? Because if you're going to use an infrastructure for 4 hours a day versus 16 hours a day, the cost structures are very different, right? So it's going to be in everyone's interest to increase the utilization on that front. So I do see them being over a period of time in a way that will be shared, right? Like any other service that comes across.
Simply put, a thriving electric shared mobility ecosystem cannot exist without an adequate charging infrastructure. And the best way to recover the cost of installing such a wide network is by opening it up to the public. The data collected through extensive EV usage also lets manufacturers know how to make their EVs more suited to Indian conditions.
No better way than to capture data on the road under various conditions, under various temperature conditions or different states, different dust conditions, riding conditions, overload conditions, what is happening to the battery behavior and the powertrain behavior and generally the cab behavior. It's like a accelerated testing, I would say, which is generally not available for a personal vehicle. So it's really a rich source of data if it is properly utilized and captured to be able to develop much better products, much more robust products, or otherwise tweak their products. There is a possibility in electric to have differential performances when the temperature goes up. For example, if the temperature goes to 50 degrees, there is a possibility of cutting it off and not allowing the cab to go below 70 kilometers per hour. So those type of things dynamically as well as one time are a great repository of data which can be used for internal use of the company for the future models.
Swappable or fixed battery charging, the future clearly points to EV cab aggregators. In the last financial year alone, over 14% of EV sales have come from the commercial fleet operators. That's an over 600% jump in sales compared to the previous financial year.
PitchBook said in their report in November 21 that the future of ride-hailing global is full stack, asset heavy and fully electric. It's a global report by PitchBook, also for you to access.
Regardless of the type of charging technology, e-cab aggregators end up sticking with, a widespread electric cab network will have a direct impact on India's EV ecosystem and accelerate the push to mass electric mobility. For now, the question remains, if given a choice between base-level CNG petrol cabs or a premium EV, what are you most likely to pick?